Y'all planning for this?
Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer, and we are going to be talking about all things 10xing your practice. How do you break inertia? How do you achieve the level of greatness that you have mapped out, you've committed to, and you have made promises that you will achieve? Sometimes the task can be really, really daunting when it lays before us, and we're wondering, how do we get to where we want to go? And we have to start small. We have to start by putting one foot in front of the other, and we have to come up with systems, policies, and procedures. The greatest distinguisher between mediocre and great companies are the ones that have systems, policies, and procedures in place. All right, what do I mean by systems? Invest in technology. Invest in things that are going to make your life easier. Not because something has all the bells and whistles, but because you're putting the systems in place to be the most hyper-productive possible. So let's start with the most basic concept. In 2020, my spouse and I bought a new house, and it was a brand new construction. And as I was going through it with the general contractor, and he was building out different specs in different rooms, we came to one room of the house that was very isolated. It's on the third floor, and it's tucked away, and it's designed to be a child's bedroom. And I said, great, that's going to be my office. And he said, oh, no, Miss Jamie, I'm so sorry. You must be confused. Your office is down here. And he shows me this beautiful laminate floors, 180-degree pano windows that I could see the mountains, and I could see roads, and I could see all of these things. And I said, no, that's definitely not my office. And he says, yes, this is why I have this glass door so you can see who's coming and going. And I said, that is exactly why that will never be my office. And I want that bedroom tucked away in that corner upstairs right there. And so he couldn't understand, he couldn't grasp why I didn't want this incredibly dominant, prestigious room of the house to be my office. Well, because it's located on the main floor of the house, and it is about 5 feet from the front door entrance of the house, and it's about 25 feet from the kitchen. In what room of your house do most people gather? If it's anything like mine, it's the kitchen. Everyone's in and out of there all day. Everyone's relaxing there. They're doing homework there. They're reading there. They're gathering there. It is a place of gathering. And I don't want my office located near that because it's going to be way too distracting. I don't want a glass door on my office. I don't want glass French doors on my office because nobody should be coming in herds and droves in and out of my office. When I am in my office, it is intentional, it is specific, and I have work to do. I don't have time to look out of the windows, gaze on what life could be, answer the front door, go into the kitchen for a snack, or entertain somebody that's walking by the office trying to get my attention while I'm on a Zoom call. That is so distracting. That is incredibly distracting. So instead, I have a very deep, focused, centered place that I work from. And it is a room that I enjoy getting work done, but I do not enjoy this room so much that I want to be in there 24/7. I want to get my done and get out of here. So everything I have in my office is designed for hyper focus. So what does that space look like? I have a standing desk. When I work, I spend my time standing. That's how I work. I never take a conference call sitting down. If you are in one of the companies that I help run and you're working that front desk and a client comes into that space, you are to immediately stand to greet them. You are not to stay seated in your position. You are to rise to that occasion. That's a tactic that I implement still to this day. So when I am working, I am standing and I'm moving around and I'm keeping that energy. I've got a headset, I've got a large monitor, and that is it on my desk. It is super minimal and it is super focused. I don't have a ton of pictures. I don't have all the books that I want to read. I don't have sticky notes everywhere. It's very minimal. It's very focused. I have 2 things on my wall in the office that I work from. And so I have my whiteboard. So I'm always visualizing, putting my notes up there. What do I got to get done, etc. And then I have my year-long calendar over there so I can see every single quarter. And my most important dates are kept on that calendar, as well as the value adds that we will be offering our clients clients throughout the year. Remember, value adds are normally 1 to 2 page high value deliveries that we give clients throughout the year. They focus on different aspects of the 5 areas of financial planning. They are determined by our leadership team a year in advance. They are delivered in person if we are in surge, or they are mailed in a bright blue, gorgeous envelope that ties and reinforces our brand colors and distinguishes our piece of correspondence from every other thing that they are going to get inside of their mailbox. And then, because I do take half of my calls and most of my meetings online through Zoom or Google Meet, I make sure that just behind me, 12 feet, is an aesthetically pleasing background. Again, tying in those minimalist aspects to it. So those are my systems. Those are what I have physically in my space. And then I'm going to invest in the technology that allows me to get things done in the fashion that I need to. We don't just buy tech gadgets to buy tech gadgets. Those systems that we put in place, and by system, I mean, what are the physical software requirements? What are we actually implementing in our office to make our lives easier? During our surge, we will meet with clients and we will fill out what is referred to as a homework sheet. A homework sheet is a single piece of paper. It's digital. It's on the iPad. We just actually this year moved to the Remarkable. We'll see how it does in contrast to the iPad. One of the things I like about the Remarkable is the handwriting is a lot more legible on the Remarkable than it is on the iPad. And it also keeps you super focused. You can't get distracted with any other of the technology features that the iPad has. So we'll see how that goes. So for every client meeting, we fill out a client homework sheet. It gives us the pertinent pulse points of where a client is at, their name, their retirement dates, their income, their taxes, their accounts, etc. And then we have our note-taking area. And then this is the really, really, really important part about our homework sheet. If you are a Backstage Pass or Invictus member, email us and we will make sure we point you towards our homework sheet because it's very powerful because of these 2 considerations that we put on side of it. On the left-hand side, we say SAI action, Shalansky and Associates actions that we have to take post our meeting. And on the right-hand side, we write down client homework. What are the things the client needs to go get done before our next meeting? When that homework sheet has been completed, it gets uploaded to the client's file. Our relationship managers scrub it. They input the tasks and actions inside of our Infinity CRM. That's our custom CRM that Micah Shalansky and I built. And those tasks are assigned to the departments that are responsible for executing the action. Here is a pro tip about assigning work. You must assign tasks to people that can complete those tasks. Do not assign tasks for somebody to start it, but they lack the authority, the skill set, or the knowledge to be able to get the task completed. If a task is assigned to you, that is because you need to be able to complete that task to fruition. Then that homework sheet gets all of the client homework, the things that they need to go and do that we can't do for them. Then my relationship managers are going to follow up with the client between now and the next time we meet and check on the status and progress of their homework. They're going to make sure that they have that list, that they're getting the documents, that they're reaching out to their employers, that they're doing those things that we discussed in that meeting. And then that homework sheet becomes part of the client's file in our notes and memorandum. Now, after our client meeting, we will still dictate our complete memorandum and we will make sure that goes into the client's electronic record, and we will follow the SOAP format. The SOAP format stands for subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. We will have a really clear understanding of emotionally where the client is at, the subjective areas that we need to get done in the planning process so that they can achieve their goals, the assessment of what it's going to take, and the plan on how we're going to execute that assessment. If you are guilty of using the royal we in your dictation, we need to get Money Guide Pro updated. We need to do a tax assessment. We need to look at their last year's tax return. We need to go over their estate planning documents. Abandon it today, here and now. Abandon the royal we. If you say we, it doesn't mean anybody, nobody specific. Is it you as the financial advisor? Is it your relationship manager? Is it your operations team? Or is it the client? Now, you already know that I don't like to use nouns specifically identifying people inside of my dictation unless I need that physical person to go do something. Instead, because we run an enterprise office, it goes to our pods. So it's the financial advisor pod, it is the relationship manager pod, or it is the operations pod. But if I need somebody's direct attention to a particular subject matter, I will mention them by name. Otherwise, I don't assign that. Those go to the leads of those pod, and the leads of the pod pod, review the task, review the assignment that has to get completed, and then hand it over to the person whose area of responsibility is defined as those tasks. My dictation is crystal clear. It says exactly what needs to happen, when it needs to be happening by, and who is responsible in the office for making sure that it gets done. The memo and the homework sheet go inside of the client's file. Before that next surge or the next time that I have a phone call with the client, I will review inside of Infinity CRM, because remember, as a financial advisor, we're talking to our clients 4 to 6 times a year, but our relationship managers and our operations personnel, they're having multiple interactions with that client. So I will review the client notes inside of Infinity, and I will see who spoke to who last, where are we at with certain processes of getting things done. And then I will pull the last homework sheet and I will pull my last memo to record. That way I have a good refreshing about what we last spoke about in our conversations. Systems, policies, processes articulated and defined. And if you are like most financial advisors have their entire book of business, everything that they know about their client and how they operate their firm between their 2 ears. They don't ever have it documented. They don't ever have a clear path forward that other people could replicate in their absence. And so then it becomes the chief responsibility of the financial advisor to always be available, because you did that. You became the crutch for your office by being the only one that knows all of the information to help your clients to stay in compliance and to do the work that has to get done. And that means that you will never be able to deliver massive value to your clients because you are not focused on doing that. You're never going to be able to spend more time outside of the office because now you set yourself up to be needed for everything, and your level of profitability will drastically decline over time, or worse yet, become stagnant. And you will never have that level of growth that you need unless you implement systems, policies, and processes. So we started with some really basic information. What does my office look like? What does your office look like? Is it distracting? Is it cluttered? Is there too many things going on at one time that you find yourself playing office instead of being focused, hyper focused on the work that you have to get done? Then I elevate that. What is the client experience? I described my home office. A lot of the times I work from home. And so what does my home office look like? And what kind of experience am I giving the client? I don't have some obnoxious background going on in and out of that Zoom uses as a background. I think Teams uses different backgrounds like that. My background's not blurred out. It looks as if I am in an office. It looks professional. It looks clean. It's not cluttered. It's not distracted. It's focused, just like my clients want me to be. I stand for my meetings. I stand for my meetings for a few different reasons. It's a different energy level. It's a different blood flow. And also the work I'm doing is important. So I want to rise to the occasion of that. I want my clients to see that I am interactive in that capacity. So if you have the capability of standing and elevating yourself and rising to that occasion, do so. Then I have systems set up. I know exactly what my surge is going to be like. I know exactly what my processes are going to be because it's already ingrained. And it's not just for me, it's for every financial advisor in our office. So we have our surge set schedule. Those dates are published a year plus in advance. When I surge, you surge, we surge. We're all in surge together. And then when that appointment occurs, my team knows that they're going to be made aware of how that meeting went because I have a system and a policy and a process in place. My systems, I share with you, I have the iPad. I'm going to start using the Remarkable and see how that does. I send out my PDF that Infinity generates for me. It gives me my pulse points on the clients, gives me my area to take notes, and then it also very clearly says who's responsible for what, who's going to get these actions done. Is it Shalansky & Associates or is it the client? When that meeting is concluded, there is no confusion on behalf of my team about who should be doing what because we have that system in place. So I want you to take the time, really sit back and think about how are you running your surge appointments? What do your client appointments look like? We talked about reincarnated thoughts, but now I want you to take it one step further. This isn't just visualizing your conversation. This isn't just visualizing your meeting with the client, but what's going to happen next? Because a lot of the value that we deliver It happens inside the conference room, but it is escalated to a heightened level once the client leaves the office, because we're not creating an environment where the client has to feel that they have to follow up with us all of the time to get things done. Rather, we are proactive. We are proactive about getting the items done that we said we were going to get done. And then we are proactive about getting with the client to make sure that we're following up on their homework, because when they leave your office, their life is also going to continue. They've got kids, they got grandkids, they have spouses, they have family, they have vacations, they have work, they have many other things. A lot of times, financial advisors, we are constantly focused on our clients, but our clients, they're not constantly focused on us. They're focused on every other aspect of their life. And so it becomes my responsibility to make sure I'm keeping them on track and hitting deadlines. Remember, the work takes up the time that you allow for it to do so, which means if we do not give people deadlines, then we cannot be surprised when things don't get done. We are a deadline-driven species. We like to know what the time is in order to get things done. So I use a lot of deadlines with my clients. In fact, when I conclude the meeting, I say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, looks like you owe me the asset allocation options for your company 401k. If I don't have those in 2 weeks, do I have your permission to have my relationship managers follow up with you and make sure we're getting that done? I would hate to see you not update your elections until we meet again. Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much. Now, I was already going to take that step. I was already going to do that, but instead I asked their permission, and I also greased the wheels so that when my relationship managers call, they're not getting pushback from the client. They're remembering the client's like, oh yeah, I didn't get that done. I was completely supposed to. Let me go ahead and get that information for you right now. Another policy we have in our office is one of the things when we're talking to clients and we owe them something. Maybe it's an application, maybe it's a form, maybe it's a value add that we ran the quarter before that they wanted something updated on. What we will do is our language is the same consistently, no matter what day of the week it is. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'd love to get that information to you. Please expect it from our team no later than next Wednesday. It's always next Wednesday. Now, why did we do this? We started implementing this about 1.5 years ago, and that is because we would come up with different dates and different timelines for all the different financial advisors in our office. We were all giving the relationship managers and operations team different dates that everything had to get done by. There was no consistency. We'd say, yeah, we'll get that to you this afternoon. Yeah, we'll get that to you in a couple of days. Financial advisors are terrible about overpromising and thinking that our employees have nothing else to do but be waiting in bated breath for what we ask them to send a client. That wasn't the case. They already had a lot of other work that they were trying to get done. So we needed a place in time that we could tell clients when we could have them reasonably expect to have something from our office that didn't also jeopardize the quality of the work that our team was doing. And so now across the board, we just say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you can expect that from us no later than next Wednesday. What is your policy? What is your process? Not something you think you have in place that if I came to your office and you opened the doors and you said, Jamie, look how great I am. I run my practice just like yours. And I say, fantastic. That's so great, Mr. Financial Advisor. Could you please show me what is your process for appointments? What happens post-appointment? And you say, oh, well, usually we do this. No, success is defined by consistently doing what other people do occasionally. So if you have something in your head as to how it should be or how you think your staff is doing it, then it's not good enough. You have to have written policy and procedure. They need to know what is expected of them. And you also need to honor that system by being consistent with it. If you keep going rogue, if you keep hijacking your team's day, if you keep derailing the processes that your company put into effect for the benefit of the client, then you cannot be surprised when you continually fail over and over and over again. We have to be consistent. We have to be better as financial advisors. We have to take all that intellect and time and skill and experience and put it on paper and write down our policies, write down our procedures, give our team members the checklist in order to make sure that they have the tool set to really succeed in their roles. Have you ever had to have a counseling with a team member where something went wrong and you went to rehash it with them and the team member was quiet and said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what you expected me to do. I thought I was doing the right thing. If so, shame on you. You left them out in the lurches to assume what needed to be done. You are the steward of your practice. You are the entrepreneur. You are the financial advisor. You are the captain of this ship. You must articulate what your expectations are, and then you have to empower your team to have the systems, policies, and procedures in place to be the rock stars they have the potential to be if you allowed it. If you are serious about 10xing your practice, if you're serious about getting to the top of that mountain and having that growth, then you also have to be candid about recognizing the 4 times in a person's life that they will implement change. The first time that they will always take action and implement change is after they've been hurt by something. Something has hurt them and therefore they have to change. What is hurting in your practice right now that really makes you evaluate that things have to change? We all have pain points, every single one of us, myself included. Something when you are running your practice, and generally it's not when you're interacting with clients, but it's normally when you're running the operations of your business. You are hurting in some capacity. You have some stress, some pain point, some problem that leaves you coming home a little bit disgruntled, maybe looking for the whiskey and having a really difficult time disengaging and reconnecting with your wife, with your kids, with your husband, with your partner, because you are in pain. Something is hurting and you haven't identified what it is to implement that change. Really take the time, evaluate where are you at? Where are those pain points? What hurts that doesn't need to continue to hurt? That is an implementer of change. We will change when we feel that level of pain. The second time that people change in their life is when they see an example and they get inspired. They get inspired because they see somebody else achieve something and they know that if they just had the knowledge and they just had the tool set, that they too could go and achieve that. This is one of the beautiful aspects of the Perfect RIA is that you have a group of people that are collaboratively searching for perfection. We are humble, we're honest, we're transparent, and we want to improve. We want others to improve around us. So are you seeing someone that is emulating the level of success, the leadership skills, or maybe just the business operational side that you want to go and emulate? One of the big things that we say is do what works. Do what works. Stop resisting and start implementing. That is an element of change. If you see people who are changing, it gets you inspired. Think about somebody you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe they lost a lot of weight and you're like, wow, I can't believe they did it. Well, if they did it, I can do it too. I'm going to be more serious about my fitness. If you see somebody that's achieved a certain level of wealth and you're like, man, I want that too. I wonder how they did it. Go implement that change. Don't reinvent the wheel. See what works, then do what works. The third time that we change is when we learn about something. Learning a new concept, a new theory, a new idea is a powerful instrument of change because it expands our mind. And once our mind has been expanded by a new thought or idea, it can never, ever, ever contract to its original shape. That thought is already there. Our mind is already blown. We've already been expanded to this new possibility. So what can you learn about right now to implement change? The fourth time a person changes in their life is when they have the ability to change. So you've got to think about that, the ability to change. Do you today have the ability to change? A lot of the financial advisors that reach out to us and want to join Backstage Pass, they often say, this is really expensive for me right now. I don't know if I have the ability to become a member of the Perfect RIA. And you have to think about that. So those advisors that we look at, we say, great, where were you 2 years? Where were you 3 years ago? ago, and their income is starting to inch the right direction. They're starting to inch the way up. And then we invoke in them and they say, hey, think about 3 years ago. Where were you at? And you said, only if I made this amount of money would I then feel I had the ability to implement these tools, to implement this coaching, to hire a virtual assistant, to hire an executive assistant, to do more client events. So those abilities, we have to think about where we were compared to where we are today. You probably possess a lot more ability to do things that before you probably only dreamed that you were going to be able to do. So is this the year? Is this the year you get serious about 10Xing? Is this a time frame that you start looking at and saying, you know what? I've hit this plateau and I can't seem to push beyond this. I want to be able to 10X. I want to be able to grow. And by the way, here's a great secret that most entrepreneurs already know. The energy that it takes to 2X is not the same energy that it's going to take to 10X. Because if you get your systems, your policies, and your processes in place, you will just man, that motion, you'll almost make me dizzy with the way that you'll start climbing and taking strides and improving to get where you want to be. So you have to ask yourself, what are the systems, policies, processes, and start with the beginning of your day and then begin to inch into it. Don't tackle the big stuff. The big stuff might be a little bit more complicated, but if you start getting these bite-sized pieces in place, you will then develop the right protocol, the right template, the right policies to tackle the big stuff. So I start with the smallest thing. I shared with you what my office looks like. That's a very small, easily accessible thing that you can do right now to implement change. And then I leveled it up. Then I said, okay, great. When I have my client meeting, what is the information that I want ahead of my client appointment? How much time do I need to prepare for my client appointment? And then what does it look like after my client appointment? How can I make sure that after I close those doors and I put the file down and I'm going on to the next client, that we're promising the client I originally met with that we're going to do the things we said we were going to do. I do not have to do everything in my office, but I do have to spell out what I expect to be done. Our Chief Growth Officer, Tracy Ottinger, was just sharing with me that this is a powerful part of where the forum leads most conversations with financial advisors, is that financial advisors will say, hey, listen, does anyone have a system on this? And somebody will come in and say, yeah, here's my one pager of what I expect my staff to do when we have that occur. And then all of a sudden it allows them to start adapting their own policies, their own procedures. So start today with what you can do. What does your space look like? What are the systems you're putting into place? And then elevate to that client experience. What does your pre-appointment checklist look like? What do you want your conference room to look like? What is at the ready in every single one of your conference rooms? Many of you know that at Shalansky & Associates, we have retirement tax services that we collaborate with to do most of our client tax returns. And this is a great way for us to outsource simple returns because retirement tax services works exclusively with financial advisors and they prepare and generate the tax returns with the clients. This has been a phenomenal way for us to add value, increase our fees for our financial planning clients. One of the services that Retirement Tax Services provides is every year they will give us a 2-page front and back sheet of paper that gives us a 37-point checklist. They'll do a Secure Act 2.0 update, and we'll have this really quick, easy guide that we can use in our conference rooms when clients have tax questions. So one of the things that I do is I have my relationship managers laminate that. I put it in every single conference room, and I have it in every single office space that we would be meeting with a client with. And then during those conversations, I flip it out. I'm able to mark on it and go through different tax concepts with clients. But my relationship managers have no way of knowing that I want that information if I don't give them what I expect to be at the ready in my conference rooms. We go so far as taking the lids off of the pens and writing on a scratch piece of paper to make sure that those pens actually work during the meeting. Those little concepts, just like the whiteboard, because we're not always in our Anchorage office. We have whiteboards in all of our conference rooms. Open up the pen. Does it work? What is that checklist that before Surge starts, our relationship managers are moving through to make sure it doesn't look like amateur hour when our clients come in for appointments? What are your systems? What are your policies? What is the process that you are going to follow and your team members can follow consistently to deliver massive value, especially during Surge? When you are outside of Surge, what is your communication policy? We got a lot of feedback from listeners just like you that have asked to see my communication policy so that they can modify and adapt it for what works in their office. If you're a member, make sure you email us and we'll point you towards that communication policy. If you're not a member, what is your communication policy? What are you developing? How are you defining what emergencies are? How are you defining when your team is going to contact you or when clients are going to contact you? What happens when you're outside of Surge? What is the policy of escalation that you have written down and documented and your team can follow? Because if you don't help them define an emergency, then every time a client calls in with a question, guess what? Yep, you're going to have an emergency because they don't know the difference between what you need to know about and what you don't need to know about because you did not define that for them. What is your communication policy? I've been asked to do a breakout session on communication policies and how to write them for team members. If that's something that interests you, maybe we'll get that together. Or we can tag that on to email delegation at our live event in September 2023. If you're not registered for that yet, make sure that you're jumping over to theperfectria.com and putting your name at least on the wait list if it's already capped out. This is going to be a really innovative workshop. What I love about doing our live events is it's 100% about collaboration. So it does not matter where you're at in your practice. If you just started, if you're mid-career, or if you're looking to hire more proteges so you can spend more time out and kind of transition from the financial advisory space, this is the workshop for you. It is incredible. And speaking of action steps, you know at the Perfect RIA, we are 100% about giving you actionable items that you can take right here, right now, today, and implement the change that you want to see in your life to deliver massive value to clients, spend more time outside of the office with the people that you love, and also be highly profitable. Do not enter the land of infinite plateaus. What a miserable way to top off your career. All right, so how do we do that? We talked a lot about systems, policies, processes. You need to take an evaluation. Here's the action item I'm going to give you because it has 4 steps to it. I want you to take out a sheet of paper. Hopefully it's a giant 3M, or put this on a big whiteboard in your office so everyone can see. And you spend really the next few days marinating over the ways that people change. And I want you to 4 columns this. Column 1, hurt. What are the pain points? What are the areas that just really make me begrudge the work that I do? 2, C, inspiration. Who's doing what I want to have done in my own life right now? Who can I emulate? Who can I look at for this guidance and for this help? 3, learn. What are you going to learn about in the next 90 days that will radically 10x your practice? Do not focus on everything because then you'll be focused on nothing. Pick one topic, pick one system, one policy, one procedure that you're going to walk through and go with your entire team and make sure that you're executing to perfection. And then 4 is all about ability. What are you able to do right here, right now, today? And if you think you're not ready, or maybe you don't have enough revenue enough, maybe you don't have enough time, maybe you haven't hired enough personnel, when is that magical time going to happen? Because the more that you grow, the more that's going to come into your life that's going to demand your attention. No good time for a baby, no good time for a puppy, no good time to get married. There's no good time for all of these different things that happen in your life. So think about that long and hard. What are you able to do today that you weren't able to do last year or the year before or 3 years from this point in your life? What if today you have more time and more ability and more resources you did 3 years ago when you were wishing to be where you're at today? So really evaluate that. What is possible? What if it works? What if you take these steps and really begin to instrumentally 10x your practice? Okay, TPR Nation, that is a big and healthy homework assignment that you need to go and complete. And once you do, once you kind of mentally strategized all of this, you're going to start being able to put those fundamental building blocks in place to achieve the greatness that you have mapped out in that reincarnated thought that we talk so much about, that mountaintop, where you want to be at, and how do we take the steps to get there. This is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer. Go find people who share your values and change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA